Welcome everybody. So welcome to your yin practice for this month, and you can start the practice today on your back and have with you whatever props you've got available to you. So I like to have a bolster and a blanket and possibly a yoga block as well. So yeah, they're just optional for the practice today, and to make it more supportive and to find some more nourishment in your shavasana at the end. We're actually going to start on our back, so coming down onto your back with your knees bent and your feet flat to the floor, and just letting your knees knock in towards each other. So you can let your feet be a little wider than your hips so that there's that space for the knees to knock in towards each other. You might let your hands rest on your lower belly, or you can let your hands rest beside your body. And taking the moment here as we let the ground hold your weight. Maybe taking a full breath in and a long sighing breath out. Releasing any tension that might just be at the surface. And taking the opportunity here to acknowledge the land, the country that you're on. And so bringing your focus down into the ground underneath you, really feeling that earth under you. And contemplating your connection to that land, exactly where you are, and perhaps the first peoples of that land. As I acknowledge here that I'm on Tongarong and Dudaroa country, and that the land here was never ceded. And I pay my respects to the first peoples and their elders, past and present, and those emerging. Let's start with some breath today. So perhaps with the hands on the belly, or one hand belly, one hand chest. And just starting to take a not too structured full yogic breath. So as you breathe in and out, seeing if you can direct your breath into the belly, and then the mid part of your ribs, and then up into the upper part of the ribs. And then as the breath releases, it comes back out the same way it goes in. So that we're really using the breath here to start to explore how we might fill up those lungs and really increase the capacity of the lungs, and send the breath into all those little corners and crevices. So let the body be nice and soft, your belly as soft as you can. And let's take a clearing breath first. So inhaling fully through the nose, and then letting your breath out as a big sigh, as a and then starting your breath in, filling up your belly, and then your mid-chest, and then up into the upper chest, and lifting the breath all the way up into the shoulders and the collarbones, and then letting the breath back out so it releases from the chest, rib cage draws back down, and then the belly draws in. And again, inhaling, let your belly expand out. Fill that breath up into the ribs so they move front, sides and back. And then lift the breath up even more into the upper chest. And then let the breath release back out again. Just at your own capacity, listening to your body. We'll do 2 more in your own time. And really seeing if you can put on that hat of the explorer, of the curious adventurer, as you start to really notice how things feel in your body. And when you've finished your next exhale, you can let the breath move back into its natural rhythm. Now being aware and curious about how the breath moves naturally. Making a mental note of how that experience was for you as we revisit it at the end and see what might have shifted as we start to mobilize the body and open up through the tissues. And so you might like to set yourself an intention for your practice today. And really exploring with our practice, our yin practice today, this idea of curious exploration. And this concept, or this idea of our body as a doorway to explore the layers of our physical, energetic, and mental experiences, particularly those of contraction and expansion and intensity and softness. So I'll repeat that again. Our body as a doorway to explore the layers of our physical, energetic and mental experiences, and especially those of contraction and expansion, intensity and softness. So that tension between those aspects of ourselves. And the breath is such a wonderful way through that doorway, such a bridge into the present and into our experience. So staying with that smooth inhale and exhale as we move. We're going to start with a little bit of mobilization. So bring your feet flat to the floor underneath your hips now. Let your arms come down beside your body. And then press into your feet and start to peel your spine up off the ground. So lifting the hips, rolling all the way up towards the shoulders. And then melting the heart back down towards the floor again. And you can start to do this with your breath, pressing into your hands and your feet as you inhale and lift the hips up. And as you exhale, letting the spine drape back down towards the floor again, seeing if you can feel each vertebra as they press down. There's a slight drawing in of the belly. And so inhale again, peeling the spine up, keeping the knees parallel. Exhaling to roll the spine back down again. This time you might like to lift your arms up and overhead so we get a little bit more of a shoulder stretch here. And then again, lifting the hips and the arms come down beside the body. And so rolling down. As the arms come up, you can choose how you breathe here. Not so much requirement of movement with breath, as long as we keep that steady inhale and exhale. Through the nose as best you can. Let's just do one more. And then from there you can bring your knees and your hands towards each other and hug your knees in towards your chest. Just notice how that feels to give yourself a big hug, maybe noticing sensation around the hips, the shoulders, the lower back. And start to take a few circles with your knees here, rolling them around in one direction. And then rolling back in the other direction. And then bringing the knees back into center. Take your arms out in a T shape. Or you can make cactus arms if you don't have the space, so bending the elbows. And then draw your knees over towards your left side. And your head might turn over towards the right. The knees can might come to the floor. You can have the feet a little lower down and the knees in line with the hips, or you might be able to bring your knees a little more up towards your left armpit. And starting to explore what might be present here. And there's that real sense of the intrepid explorer, the intrepid adventurer, curious and open to what might be present. And delving into the different layers. So there might be this physical layer of sensation as you twist your body into this shape. And what do you feel? Where do you feel it? What might be the quality of that sensation? We can start with that level, that layer. Always a wonderful doorway into presence, into more awareness. It leads us deeper, but it's so powerful to start there. And I say it a lot, but the body is how we experience the world, through our senses. Even emotions and thoughts can be felt in the body, have a felt sense to them. Let's bring knees back up to center, and then just rest there for a moment. So you might bring your hands back around your knees again, give them a hug in towards you, and then swapping to the other side. So taking your knees over to your right, arms out to the sides, keeping that left shoulder on the ground. And you can turn your head over your left shoulder. Notice here the quality of your breath. The felt sense of your breath. Does it feel smooth, or is there a raggedness to it? Are you holding your breath? And the breath can start to give us a real insight into what might be happening, not only physically, but down in that layer of the energetic body. Let's come back to center again, so lifting the knees back up and wrapping your arms around them. And then extend your legs out long and reach your arms up and overhead. So you're having a nice big stretch all the way along the length of your body. And from there, we're going to take ourselves into a little banana shape, walking your feet over towards the left side, and then walking your hands over in that direction too, so that the hips stay where they are, nice and grounded, but the limbs start to move over to the left side, so that you're getting a stretch along the right side of your body. Just be mindful of your shoulders and your lower back, making sure you're not exacerbating any kind of instability or injury in those spaces. You might hold on to your right hand or your right wrist with your left hand, so that you can get this really gentle tension and tugging along that those tissues on the right side. Breathing in and breathing out. Aware of what is present. The body and the breath. And there's no need to do anything. In this practice, in this yin, our role as this explorer is not to change anything or do anything, but simply to show up with awareness. Directing our attention into those places that might not normally see the light. Walking your feet and your hands back to center, nice and slowly. And just resting for a moment with your body in neutral. And let's swap to the other side. So walking your feet over to the right, hands over to the right. You might catch that left hand and encourage it over. Oh, bless me. So walking the feet, just edging them over and edging the hands over so that you get that line of stretch along the left side of your body. And so you move to where you feel that. It might be completely different to me or to anyone else. Which is why it's so important to cultivate that curious mind into your experience rather than accepting what someone else might say. We're going to walk the hands and feet back to center. And then from there, bring your knees into your chest again. You can just rest for a moment with the feet flat on the floor, or you can hug your knees all the way in towards you, maybe a little rock and roll or some circles around your lower back. And then take your left foot to the floor, right foot up towards the sky, and start to draw that right knee down. So we're coming into a little half stirrup shape, or half happy baby. You can take your right hand and take it to the outside of your ankle or your right outside of your right foot, and then use that pulling action with the arm just to draw the knee down towards the outside of your chest, just a gentle action. And then you can start to let the knee, that leg be a little softer and heavier. And your left foot can be on the floor, or if you can slide that left foot out and let it be relaxed and heavy on the ground. Noticing maybe there's a little more intensity creeping in here as we get into the hips a little bit more. How's the breath now? If you're finding that it's too intense with the sole of the foot pointing to the sky, you might find a little bit of reprieve from that by bringing your right heel down a little closer towards your buttock. So you can play around with that, and you might kind of move between those two shapes as you explore the sensation, as you explore your capacity to be with it. Maintaining that smooth breath. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And releasing. You can bring that knee back in towards you, maybe give it a little bit of a squeeze in, perhaps some circles around with the knee in one direction and back the other way. And swapping over to the other side, so right foot to the floor, left knee in towards you, and then taking this half stirrup, half happy baby shape. It's called a stirrup in yin. Keep your pelvis grounded, anchoring both sides of your pelvis down to the earth, and then drawing that left knee down towards the outside of the ribs. And you might extend your right leg out. And breathe. And as much as you can, let your right leg and your right hip be nice and heavy. You might soften through your shoulders and your jaw if you've noticed a little bit of tension creep in through there. Again, each time we scan the body, an opportunity to listen in what might be present. Gaining insight, this inner sight. And you can start to release your left leg and draw that knee towards you, little circle around. And then bending both knees back up into your chest and giving yourself a nice big squeeze. And then we'll roll over gently to one side and bring yourself up into a seat. So nice and slowly, we've been lying down for a little while. We're going to come into a butterfly from here. So you might want to have something to sit your sit bones up onto. I like to use a folded blanket, but if you want something a little bit more stable or a little bit higher, you could use your block or your bolster. So coming to sit at the edge of the prop and bringing the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. And taking those knees out to the sides as best you can. Encouraging this opening through the hips and the inner thighs. And this might be enough for you to sit here upright, and you can just let your hands rest either on the floor for a bit of support or around your feet. If you want to start to come forwards, it can also be an option to have your bolster handy, so something that you can fold yourself over, maybe gives you a little bit more support, or you can start to walk your hands along the floor and come down into this butterfly, rounding through the back body, so creating that stretch along the connective tissues in the back line of the body, as well as this opening through the inner thighs. If you're finding that this is too much for your hips, you can put some padding underneath your thighs and your knees, so just supporting the knees so that they're not hanging down. And as you land here in this shape, as we do in yin, we come into the shape and then we find our edge, we find that place where we feel something. We can feel a sense of opening, a sense of stretching, this creation of space for energy to flow more freely through those tissues. And then because we're working with these deeper layers of tissues, not just the muscles, but the ligaments and the tendons and the fascia, we stay for a little while. And so this non-doing that we drop into is a space to cultivate that curious mind, to really direct your attention into those places where you feel something, so that we can use the body as that doorway for presence. And we can spend so much of our time off the mat, distracted by the many jobs we have to do, by our lives, by the television, our phones, whatever it is, our kids, that we can almost become numb to what the body is telling us. So that often it has to scream for us to listen. And that might resonate for you, or maybe you see that elsewhere. And so what this yin practice does is gives us the opportunity to really slow down, put our bodies into positions where we feel something. And we incline our attention to that space so that we listen to it. And so we get to also start to bring awareness to those mental processes that happen as we pay more attention to our experience without distraction. So where might you sense resistance or fear or anger or joy, gratitude? Emotions that are often held in place, created through our mindsets. Through our conditioning. And so much to learn from this body, from feeling sensation, and simply from creating the conditions to be more aware. And so let's just take another breath here. And then slowly start to lift yourself up. So use your hands to support you. And then take your hands around your knees or your inner thighs, your outer thighs, and then bring the knees back together. So use your hands to support you there. And you can stretch the legs out a little bit, just sitting up, maybe giving your legs a little bit of a rub if you like, a little bit of a massage, easing out any of those areas that have been under pressure. And then from here, we're going to come into child's for a moment. So just come onto your knees, and you might like to spread the blanket out over the mat if that's helpful. Sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of extra padding under your knees. You can take the knees wide, big toes to touch, and just slide your hands forwards. If you want to place a block or a bolster between your hips and your heels, you're welcome to do that for a little bit of extra support. Just letting your head be supported, so either on a block or on the floor or hands. Just staying here for a few breaths to integrate. So the knees don't have to be very wide. Just finding a child's that feels a little more restorative right now. Let's come up to all fours. Have your props handy. We're going to come into our lizard. So you can have that blanket there so that your left knee is supported. If you need more padding, feel free to roll it up. And then step the right foot forward. So we're going to step it towards the outside edge of the mat. And your hands can come down on the inside. So if you need a little bit more height, the block might be handy here. Lifting yourself up onto a block as high as you need it to go, so that you can allow yourself to find a bit of softness here. So we don't want to be just holding on for dear life. See if you can create space here for softening and opening. And you may feel that you can kind of slide your left knee back a little bit more. You might be able to send that right knee out to the side a little bit more. And taking a few breaths, sending them right down into the lower belly and that pelvic bowl area. Imagining those lines of connective tissues opening up, more space for that energy to flow. Maybe you can even sense that, the subtlety of that. And if you can find a bit more depth here, you might come down a little lower. Again, you could use the block, forearms on the block for a bit more height. Always coming back to our intention and what this practice is in service of. So if you find that your ego starts to creep in to push you into a certain shape because you think that's what you're supposed to do, or somehow that makes you better than you were another day or better than someone else, just watch that. Again, a wonderful opportunity to be mindful, to bring awareness into those mental processes. I'm going to stay here for maybe another 5 or so breaths. You can come back up onto your hands if you were forwards on your forearms. We're going to transition from our lizard straight into sleeping swan. So walking the right foot all the way over towards that left side of the mat and bringing the shin down. So you can tuck the foot in more towards the groin if you need to. And then finding some support if you like. So maybe the block underneath the thigh or bolster. If you know that this shape, so sleeping swan or pigeon, if you know that this is not good for your knees or your hips, you are so welcome to come and lie on your back and come into eye of the needle. So there are always options if the gravity involved in this shape is not good for your body, particularly if you've had any knee operations or injuries or anything like that. So again, we can be up on the hands and take a breath here. And then slowly starting to walk your hands forwards if that's available for you. Coming down into this sleeping swan. You might like to find some support for your head, a block or a cushion, allowing the back of your neck to be long. You might really feel a lot of intensity in this shape. It can be pretty strong shape to bring the body into for many. And conversely, perhaps for you, this is a fairly easy shape for your body to come into. You don't necessarily feel all that much in terms of physical sensation. That gross level of the muscles and tissues. Wherever you are with this shape, whether it's really intense and you're struggling just to keep the breath smooth, or whether you drop into this with softness and ease and perhaps find the mind starts to wander. Wherever you are, bring that same quality in of that curious explorer. What's here? If there's intensity, gently naming intensity. If there's subtlety, gently naming subtlety. One not better than the other. Both a doorway to awareness. Coming back up onto your hands again. We're going to make our way back into all fours. So you might slide your left knee forwards a little bit so you can take some weight onto it. Bring your right knee back and perhaps extending that leg all the way back and sliding the toes onto the floor, pressing the heel away. You might want to make some circles with that knee. Anything that feels good for you. Perhaps there's even a downward facing dog here to stretch things out. Coming back into child's for a moment. So whatever version of child's feels good for you, just to take a rest. And we'll come to take the second side of both of those shapes. So starting with lizard first. The right knee back and the left foot stepping forwards. And just to start with, a little bit of movement from side to side. You might come up with the hands up onto a block to create some more space. Maybe sliding your right knee back a little bit more. Kind of like that lab technician, that lab scientist, looking into the microscope, what's here, shifting it around a little bit. After a few moments, things come into focus and you might start to deepen a little bit. So coming down onto hands or forearms. Always with that intention of being curious. Not to get anywhere, but simply to use the body as an opening to greater presence. Let's take another breath there. And then walking your hands back up if you've been down on the forearms and starting to transition to sleeping swan on the other side, or by all means coming to your back for eye of the needle. So we'll land that left shin down if you're coming into sleeping swan version, right leg back behind you, maybe even looking back behind you and really extending that leg all the way back, letting your hips become heavy down towards the floor, neither staying up on your hands or walking the hands forwards. Again, each time you choose to shift and move, coming back to what it's in service of. Noticing what happens when you make a little shift in your position. Letting yourself settle into this shape, in this moment. Staying right here to listen. So start to slide your hands back up so that you can take some weight onto your hands. And then picking up that left foot and sending it back behind you. And again, taking some movements and stretches that just ease that left hip out. And then we're going to slide forwards onto our bellies from here. So you can come forwards into Sphinx shape. You might like to leave that blanket down as a little bit of support for your belly and your hips and ribs. And then coming onto the forearms and lifting the chest. You can keep the neck nice and long, your feet, tops of your feet on the floor, and the legs can either be quite heavy and relaxed, or if you find that isn't too comfortable for your lower back, you might want to bring just a little bit of engagement into the legs, your pubic bone pressing down towards the floor. And you can have your elbows quite close towards you or a little further away from you. Again, if you need to take a little bit of pressure out of the lower back, you can really focus on lifting through your thoracic spine. Exploring here what might be best in service for your body today. Noticing what you feel in this shape. As you breathe, as you allow yourself to become more still. And then slowly lowering yourself down to the ground, so elbows out to the sides as you let your chest come down, and just let your head rest on your hands. Or you can turn one ear to the ground and rest there. Bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, slowly press your way back to all fours. And you might like to slide all the way back to child's, or you can stay at all fours and have a little bit of movement from side to side, or some circles with your hips. And you can walk your knees forwards and come to sit down onto your sit bones again. We'll take the legs out in front. Just going to come into a forward fold into caterpillar from here. So you can just let the legs be outstretched. You might want to have your bolster or your cushion or whatever you've got and have that along the length of your legs, and that can be really nice to fold over. It makes it a little bit more restorative. Option to have maybe a block or a couple of blocks handy too, so that you can let your head actually rest on something. If you prefer to do this unsupported, I'm just going to let the hands start to slide forwards and the body rolls down over the legs. If that's not feeling good for your lower back, if you've got any injury or any instability going on there, then it might be better for you just to stay fairly upright and long through your spine, just focusing on lengthening out through the backs of the legs, or you can come down onto your back and draw your legs towards you that way. It's a little safer. And so as we shift into this back body opening, just noticing again what sensation you feel. Notice where you feel this in your body, running your awareness all the way from the top of your head all the way down the back line to the soles of your feet. Noticing the sensation of breathing here. As it perhaps feels a little harder to expand and breathe into the front body. Can you imagine your breath expanding into the back of your ribs? Breathing in and breathing out. Next breath in, slowly rolling yourself up back to sit. And just rest a moment here. You might like to bend your knees, feet flat onto the floor. So we're going to roll down onto our backs from here. So coming all the way down, supporting yourself with your hands, and then bringing your knees in towards your chest as you get there. Nice big squeeze in towards you. And there's a bit of an optional inversion here. So you can just simply have your legs up with your sacrum grounded in this little Viparita Karani shape, hanging legs. If your back was feeling okay in that forward fold and you'd like to come into this kind of snail shape where we bring the knees to chest and lift the hips up and bring your feet over your head, supporting your hands at your low spine. Just make sure there's no pressure in your neck. So we want to have the weight on the shoulders, a little bit on the back of the head, and the arms supporting. Just noticing how it feels to breathe here. Some of you might feel okay to reach your hands up above your head. And staying here for a few more breaths if it feels okay. Or staying with the legs up. And then if you're in that snail shape with your feet over your head, just slowly bringing yourself back down again. So use the support of your hands, use your core to lower your back down to the floor. And then we can finish with a stirrup. So we did the half stirrup to start, and then coming into this full stirrup with both hands holding on to the outsides of the feet, the calves or the ankles, and drawing those knees down either side of the body. If that's not feeling good, you could come into the half version again, starting on one side and shifting to the other one. Or you can have the heels a little closer towards the buttocks. Remember, that takes some of the pressure out of your hips and knees. Releasing your feet, bring your knees in towards your chest again, big squeeze. And you can let your feet come down towards the floor. So just as we started, bringing the feet wide and the knees knocking in towards each other, let your hands rest on your body. Allow the back of your pelvis to be heavy, the spine melting into the ground. And taking a few more full yogic breaths here. Starting with a clearing breath out, so inhaling fully, exhaling completely, and then inhaling, expand your belly, mid-ribs, upper ribs. Release the breath from the chest, and then from the belly. Inhale, fill your belly, mid-chest, upper chest. Release from the top of the chest. Lower ribs drawing in and then belly drawing back to the spine. Just doing one more. Exploring your body's own capacity to breathe. And then when you've let all of that breath go, you can extend your legs long, come into Shavasana. So you may like to have your bolster underneath your legs. You might want to cover your body with a blanket, letting yourself relax here, perhaps as an eye pillow over your eyes, letting your arms rest a little away from your body. Allowing the body to settle into the ground. You can let go of any control of your breath here. Just allow it to return back into its natural rhythm. And then as you allow your body to relax here, I'm going to guide you through a little scan of the body. So rather than really consciously relaxing each part of the body, we're just going to bring awareness to it. As if your awareness were this flashlight, this point of light, illuminating each part of the body as I say them out loud. So your attention settles in that place with openness and curiosity, whatever might be present, intensity, subtlety, expansion, contraction. And bring your attention down into your right big toe. Point of light at the right big toe. And the second toe. Third toe. Your fourth toe. Your little toe. The ball of your foot, your heel, top of the foot, the ankle, the whole right foot illuminated, the right calf, the shin, right knee, the back of the right thigh, front of the thigh, and the back of the right hip, the front of the right hip, the buttock, the whole right leg, intention draws down to your left big toe, a point of light at the left big toe, the second toe, the middle toe, fourth toe, and the little toe. Point of light at the ball of your left foot, the heel, and top of your foot, your left ankle, the whole left foot, left calf, left shin, left knee, point of light, and back of your thigh, front of the thigh, back of the left hip, the front of the left hip, left buttock, the whole left leg, and tailbone, sacrum, the pelvic bowl, point of light, and the abdomen, the lower back, and diaphragm, and lower ribs, the shoulder blades, the collarbones, point of light at the center of the chest, on top of the shoulders, the thumbs, both hands, the second finger, third finger, the fourth finger, the little finger, moving up to the palms of your hands, the backs of your hands, wrists, point of light, the forearms, elbows, upper arms, and the shoulders, in your neck, the back of the neck and the throat. Your jaw, tongue, lips, cheekbones, nostrils, the space between your eyebrows, your eyes, the forehead, top of your head, whole body, filled with awareness. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So ever so slowly in your own time, start to bring a little bit more wakefulness back into your body. You can start by deepening your breath, perhaps bringing a little bit of movement into your fingers and your toes, and then having a stretch. Take your time to roll yourself over to one side. Resting there for a moment. You might have your bottom arm stretched out and your head resting on your arm, knees bent. And again, starting to bring that awareness back in as you notice how you feel. And then using your hands to support you gently to come up into a seat, finding a comfortable seat for you just to close off our practice together. You might like to bring the palms of your hands together in front of your heart, perhaps giving them a little rub together, building a little bit of heat in the palms of the hands, a little bit more energy. You can let the hands move apart slightly, perhaps feeling that subtlety, tingling in the palms of the hands, between the palms of the hands. And then bringing the hands up. So you just place the heels of the hands over your eyes. Nice, smooth breath in, smooth breath out. And bringing the palms of your hands together, thumbs resting at the center of your chest. And taking a moment here to offer up your practice in some way to someone needing some positivity in their life. And we'll close with one long-sounding Om. So either listening or joining in, take a deep breath in. And bring your thumbs to that space between your eyebrows, your connection with your deepest wisdom. Thumbs to your heart for that connection with all those around you. Take a bow forwards now, honouring your connection with the earth. Thank you so much for joining me for this yin practice in your own home. Thank you for inviting me in there, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.